Morning Magazine for this July 1st, 2020. Your host, James J. Malouf here. And, it took me a second there. July. I got to get used to saying July again, guys. We have him with us for the whole hour today, the Wood County Sheriff's Department. We have Sheriff Shawn Becker in with us. And, Sheriff, would you mind introducing your friend here?
Well, I kind of do, but
you kind of do?
I'll do it anyway. It's Patrol Sergeant Matt Souza, a good friend of mine. He was working today, and he drew the short straw this morning. I came in and this morning and asked, hey, you want to go on the radio? I didn't say he had to, but he volunteered to come with me, and he's been with the department since 2004, full-time. But he started part-time in around 2002, and I vividly remember this because I did his background investigation back in that time frame, and he worked part-time for us doing the in our reserve deputy program. So we got an opportunity to see Matt and work with him on a part-time status. He left the Sheriff's Department to take a full-time job when he was 20 years old with the Shawn County Police Department. Shawn County Sheriff's Department. Worked there a couple of years and then decided to attempt to get back here over in Wood County where he started his career, and the rest is really history. He was hired in 2004 and has been with us ever since. Currently, like I had mentioned, he's a patrol sergeant, helps oversee one of our day shifts. Been in that position on and off for a long time. And he also is our assistant, or actually our team leader for our special response team, and has been part of our SWAT team for many, many years. Was on it when I was on it, and I've been part of our special response team as far as an entry member for, I don't want to start dating myself, but at least probably 15 years. And we talked about our special response team, before, and Matt can talk about it a little bit, but a team that I'm very proud of. Something that was one of my goals when I started here at the Wood County Sheriff's Department a couple of years ago, that I wanted to be part of that team. And Matt's one of our leaders there. He also is part of our snowmobile patrol, boat patrol, ATV patrol, which is something we can talk about later in the show because that's obviously a hot topic, is because we've been adding a trail system in Wood County. Our county board has moved in that direction, working with our highway department. I know we're looking at opening up some of our county highways, but that's got to be done with safety in mind. I know that some folks like to see all of our county highway roads open, but I have somewhat where we have a safety issue with that. If you look at some of the county highways with that speed limit up to 55 miles an hour, and one road that comes out, as to me is a concern right away is County Highway A. Mm-hmm. Going from Pittsville up to Marshfield is heavily traveled, and there's a lot of curves, and it's just not an area conducive to have UTV and ATV traffic on it. But if you look at all of our county, our county trunk system, there are opportunities to have areas open up, or areas that, folks that have UTVs and ATVs that can cross a county highway to get to places, whether it's, Arpin, Rudolph, or into Pittsville. So we're moving forward with putting something together where we'll have expanding our route system in Wood County, connecting to Clark County and Jackson County, where a lot of the counties that have had, success opening up roadways, and I know a lot of our townships have opened up as well. So big recreational value. We see that. Our county board sees that, and that's something that we're working together on to make it the safest as possible. But I will say, since that we've opened up, our town roads, our townships have, we've had a couple crashes that we've dealt with, and that, that's concerning because, as we move forward with this, we do have to look at the safety aspect of this. The UTVs and ATVs are not made to be, operating on, hard surfaces, asphalt or concrete. They're off-road vehicles.
Yeah.
So we have to, really keep that in mind and operate these vehicles, as safe as possible.
These vehicles are a privilege? they're being able to do these kind of things, whether it's snowmobiling or any of this kind of stuff. It's a privilege, and got to treat it as such.
Right.
It's fun. It's so much fun, and it's a blast. But it comes with a responsibility.
Right.
And I wanted to start off just asking you a couple questions, Mr. Souza. First off, does he guilt you into this? You can tell me this is a safe place. You can. I'm joking.
James always says it's a safe place. When we leave, it becomes not a safe place because we have to ride back to the sheriff's department.
That's right.
Oh, good point.
I did want to ask, though, because as Shawn mentions there and everything, that at a young age you kind of leave the area to work and then getting to come back to. This is your hometown area.
That is correct.
Okay.
Yes.
How good did that feel?
It felt great. Back 17 years ago, law enforcement was a really challenging profession to get into as far as applicants. I mean, I was going against hundreds of applicants for one job. So back then, the rule of thumb was, it's hard to get into law enforcement, but once you're in it, you can pretty much go to where you want to be. And that's exactly what happened. I applied to a lot of different agencies throughout the northern half of Wisconsin, was able to land a job full-time in Shawano County, and from there I was able to come back here.
It's one of the things I think a lot of us can relate to, where, to get the idea to be able to not only work and be in your hometown, in your area, but to do some good there. And that's certainly something that you guys do on a daily basis. So we appreciate that. And it's great to have you with us, man. Nice to meet you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
So I wanted to kick things off, especially with what you were touching on there, Shawn. I forgot to mention this to you in the pregame. The Click It or Ticket campaign that is going on right now. I know that we have been mentioning on Over the Back Fence. The Grand Rapids Police Department has joined this. I know other organizations are.
Yeah, we have many. The way we've been working a lot of our grants the last few years, it's been a combination with other law enforcement agencies as well within our county. So Grand Rapids, Wisconsin Rapids, Marshfield, us, all the law enforcement agencies within our county have an opportunity to work to get the grant, and we do it together. So, that's been in full swing. I know that now as we move into a holiday weekend, one thing that we really need to talk about is, the fireworks. That's started, we've been starting to get some complaints at nights, just that people are lighting fireworks off. And remember, a lot of common sense here. If you're going to be lighting off fireworks, number one, if they leave the ground, they're most likely illegal, and you can get them anywhere. You can get Class C fireworks that are pretty big fireworks, and you can get them almost anywhere. But remember, when you purchase those, they're most likely, wherever you're going to light them off, they're illegal, unless you get a permit. All right, so if you live obviously in city limits, you're probably not going to get a permit, whether it's Wisconsin Rapids, Nakusa, Port Edwards, or Marshfield. It's not going to happen. Now, if you're out in a township, you could get a permit. What happens is you'll have to call the township that you live in and see if you can get a permit. If they issue a permit, there's obviously some safety things you're going to have to answer on the permit. And once granted, then we get notified that, hey, on this particular evening, which is nice for us because then, we can pass it along to our patrol division saying, hey, we've got some people that are going to be, lighting off fireworks at this time. They're going to start, obviously at dusk and be done by, a reasonable time. And when I tell people, if you go beyond 10 o'clock, you're probably going to get some calls where we're going to respond to. Be aware of your neighbors. Fireworks are loud. We know that. It can be disturbing to some folks. You look at pets. I know that the animal shelters are very busy during this time of year because, animals aren't used to the noises and, they take off. And then you look at the owner of that animal, that pet, how upsetting it is to them once that animal takes off, then, their animal's missing, their dog's missing. So that's just something, if you're going to, purchase fireworks, just think of everything, the safety aspects of it, the timing, do you have a permit? If you don't have a permit and we get called to investigate the matter, you could get cited, and the bottom line, that's most likely, especially if something's going on beyond like 10 o'clock or quarter to 10 or something like that, and we're getting complaints about it, we have a job to do, and you really could.
I can't think of one good reason to do it. I mean, there is, especially in these areas, in our main listenership here in Wood County and everything, there's no area where it's, I'm pretty sure everybody in my neighborhood's going to be okay with me letting off fireworks at 11 at night. You mentioned the animal aspect, and that's certainly a key part of it that we hit on quite a bit, and a very important part. But even if you are not an animal lover, there are a lot of children out there that are disturbed by this, especially autistic children, and our veterans.
Right.
We have a ton of veterans in this area that I have heard from in the past month especially, where because we started talking about this in Over the Back Fence, and all of a sudden I started getting calls and hearing from other veterans out there like, thank you for addressing this.
Right.
Because they're not going to come out and tell you that because they're soldiers. It's not what they do. But a lot of these guys, even if the ones that are not dealing with PTSD, that in itself, you're laying in your bed, you're trying to go to sleep at night, and all of a sudden you hear these loud things go off. You don't even have to have been a soldier or something like that for that to mess with you, let alone if you were somebody like somebody like that has been through the hardships that they have been through. One of the least things we can do is let them get a peaceful night's sleep.
Right.
I would love, and the phone lines are open, everybody, 715-424-2600. Please give me your excuse for this. I would love to hear somebody try to give a reasonable, rational excuse of why to light off fireworks, why you can't wait until the 4th, or why you have to do it at that time of night. Just please convince me. I would love to hear it. I would like to, before I go off on too big of a rant there, I apologize. Is there a city ordinance about this?
I know that. It goes by city, but as I mentioned earlier, you're not going to get a permit in the city of Wisconsin Rapids. It's not going to happen. And I know that they'll be out just as much as we will be out enforcing, this ordinance, this law. Basically, anything that leaves the ground, it's illegal. And so you can still get some fireworks. My neighbors were doing them a few nights ago. It was stuff that were like sparklers and things those fountains that those smaller fireworks that don't leave the ground are legal. But anything beyond that, just remember, if they leave the ground, they're illegal. And if officers or deputies come to, they get a complaint or they come across it, you could get cited and the stuff confiscated, and then we destroy it, we get rid of it. So be very aware of that. I know it's a really, really weird year with the virus out there. You have a lot of the fireworks shows that cities put on are canceled, and I know that sales for fireworks have gone up because people want to get out there and do them and have gatherings because it's just those public events are not happening right now for obvious reasons. So I know that we'll probably have a very busy weekend, especially dealing with firework complaints because the 4th is this Saturday. Great weather is forecasted. I know a lot of people will probably be getting together. Those public events are not going on, so we're prepared to handle these types of complaints. The only event that I know that's going on is over in Buren, in the Bridgewater development area by Anchor Bay, the Keller Knights Snowmobile Club. Not that I'm plugging them, but I'm part of that club. We had to change some things on fundraising because our radar run event was canceled due to poor ice conditions. And then we also do some fundraising at Keller Cornfest, and that event obviously got canceled. So we had to look at some ways that could be unique where we could do some fundraising and still adhere to the social distancing, not trying to bring large groups together. But if people wanted to get together and still be, adhering to the social distancing requirements, we got a boat parade going on out in front of that developed Bridgewater and over by Anchor Bay that people can take part of. But I really think that the boating is going to be extremely busy this weekend. So we've got that event going on. We have no idea how many people we're going to get. But I think that there's at least a recipe out there for potential, people getting together and seeing something different. There's some ideas the leadership in the club came up with, and for $20 you can put your boat in and kind of do a short parade in that area and be done. It starts at noon and it's done by 1 o'clock, and then people can be on their own. But I really think that the weekend on the water, whether it's the river, Lake Wazicha, NEPCO, any waterways around within our county are going to be very busy because there's not much to do right now. But on the flip side of that, we've got to look at the safety aspects of it. The more people we put on our waterways, you have to adhere to the rules of the water. We call it rules of the road, but what the statutes that apply to the waterways are going to be important to make sure you're abiding by them. The biggest thing that jumps out to me is in your boat, there's two things. One, make sure you have enough life jackets, all right? Because if something does happen and somebody falls out of the boat, make sure you're wearing a life jacket. That's going to be something that can save somebody's life, and that's obvious. But just in the last few weeks in our state, there's been many drownings, and that just shows that we've got more people, getting out and enjoying the waterways. But look at the safety aspect of it, and then obviously, we have to be aware of boaters being intoxicated. That can be an issue. Crashes do happen out on the waterways, and when you add so many folks out there enjoying, one of the recreational opportunities we have right now, please just adhere to the statutes out there, make it safe so everybody can enjoy it. We don't want to be busy over the weekend. So we're going to have some boat patrol out throughout the weekend. I know the DNR will as well. We're expecting a very busy weekend just because you've got so many factors going on right now with all the community events being canceled. And what else can you do? I mean, you can camp, which is great. I know our campgrounds are going to be full. And then if you have a boat, where are you going to want to be? If it's 9 degrees, you're going to want to be in the water.
Yeah. When it comes to and first off, I gotta call you out, Shawn, because we don't do shameless plugs around here. That's not something we're known for. I do want to mention that the Rafters will be on tonight at 6:20 on AM 1320 WFHR. No, sorry, please, all the time do shameless plugs. I do it every day, and I really appreciate you bringing that up because it's something that I don't think a lot of our listeners knew about, and it's a really fun kind of thing and something to do. We talked about this when we were going into the pandemic and about our medical field. And we need to calm things down so that they don't have too much on their plate because they've got work already. They've got surgeries. They've got appointments. They've got different things, your day-to-day stuff that is already going on. And then you add a pandemic on top of it.
Right.
You guys have your weekends already booked. There is stuff that is going to happen. There is stuff that is going to go on. And then you throw out all this needlessness on top of it, whether it is somebody lighting off fireworks when they shouldn't have or something like that. You got enough on your plate. We don't need to be doing these kind of things. And it's part of when, again, just like we're all have to take personal responsibility these days about whether it is wearing a mask or not and all these kind of situations, this is one of those ones where take a little personal responsibility, have a little common sense, and think before you light those off. Just think think before you hit send. You got that tweet that you don't know if you should send out or not. Think a couple seconds before you hit send. Think before you light that off. Do you really need that 5-10 seconds of the firework in the air and blowing up and everything? Because it doesn't even last that long. That's the other part of it that I don't quite get, is that it's not like this is something that for an hour it's up there going off or anything like that. It's not, I don't know how, it just seems like a little silly to me that we have to spend this much time on it.
Yeah, fireworks are a popular thing this time of year. It's part of, I don't know, say our heritage or something, but it's around the 4th of July, the first thing you think of is fireworks, and like I said, it's very unfortunate with this, with the virus that a lot of the events have gotten canceled, and people I know will take it upon themselves to have their own show and just do it legally. That's all we're asking. I know Marshfield still is having theirs, which is great. So people can, within our county or even around, can go to their show. They're moving forward with it. I don't believe there's any other activities around it, but from areas you can watch their show. So at least something is going on, within our county with fireworks. But I know a lot of people with the sales that have been reported, have been up, are going to do their own shows. And all we ask is do it legally and safely, and just consider your neighbors. It's a huge responsibility that somebody takes upon themselves.
I think fireworks are a lot of fun. I think you're not going to find many people, especially Americans, who don't enjoy fireworks. And I think you bring up a good point that when we think of most of us growing up, when we think of 4th of July, it's one of the first things we think of is fireworks. Mm-hmm. Here's a great opportunity for us to remember what the 4th of July actually is about.
Yeah.
Here's a great opportunity to, and I'm sorry to be serious about it or anything, but it is a serious holiday. It isn't just a day to drink and light off fireworks and possibly blow off a finger. It is a day to remember how lucky we are to have this country, how fortunate we are, and to remember
right now.
Especially right now. So I would like to jump into some of the DNR, or not DNR, but the boat patrol that you were talking about, because, and I bring up the DNR because I was kind of curious about how you guys work with them when it comes to that, when you're in that world. Because I don't know a whole lot about that, and I don't think, talking to a lot of our listeners, they necessarily know a lot of the work that maybe you guys do together, or maybe you don't see each other at all. I'm not sure.
No, just like snowmobile patrol, we work with the DNR very close, and especially probably over the years, we've probably developed a really good positive relationship with the DNR. So we do have a boat patrol, and Matt can talk about a little bit if he'd like to add to it, but I know that he's been part of it in the past. But our department has had boat patrol for a long time. Our boat has a dual purpose, not only just for enforcement, but we obviously have a rescue unit. So that boat is utilized not just with our deputies, but also with our rescue unit. So we primarily work weekends, depending on the availability of people that are available on the shifts, or if they want to take an extra shift and work out there. But that's pretty customary with most of your sheriff's departments that have waterways that go through through their county. But we've had the boat patrol established for quite some time. And most of the time that we will work, or we look at where there's increased traffic. A lot of it was with NEPCO and Wazeecha. Those are a couple areas that a lot of people were out utilizing, but we've seen a lot of increase over in the Wisconsin River Burin area that with that development that has gone in with Bridgewater. We're seeing quite a few folks that are utilizing that stretch of the river, because you've got a good chunk of several miles that you can go from Wisconsin Rapids to Plover, and there's many stretches where it's wide, some areas it's not. So you're seeing a lot of people utilizing the recreational opportunity there. Water skiing, the aqua skiers have a site out there they've had forever. With the development, just because I was an aqua skier, I know this. They're putting an area there that they can hold shows later. Once things get back to normal. So they have two sites between the Burin area and then obviously over on Lake Wazeecha. But again, that's another thing that's just kind of with the times right now. The unfortunate thing that the tournament, at least the team tournament aspect of it, was canceled. That's a big hit to our area. Just for the sales tax revenue that we're going to lose from that impact. And again, it's personal for me because I was an aqua skier for many years. My daughter's still on the team, and it's just you're not getting that opportunity for a lot of these recreation events.
It is something, though, that gives us a chance to talk about them and to look forward to when they do come back and hit the water again, and really come out and celebrate that. Really come out and just bang the drum and make sure that we get as many people out there as we can and have some fun when we're able to get things back. When it comes to the boat patrol and that, and Sergeant Souza, I want to ask you this: what kind of training goes involved into this?
So usually it gets handed down from previous deputies, but the DNR also puts on training sessions throughout the year to help enforce the laws that they are looking for, to work in partnership with the DNR. There obviously is the boater safety, any safety class, so whether it's boater safety, snowmobile safety, UTV safety, or hunter safety courses that need to be taken to be able to legally operate them. But as far as the law enforcement aspect, there are, like I said, some trainings that the DNR puts on. I think it's every other year. We report up to a central location and go through the updated statutes, updated training manuals. So we do work very closely with the DNR. Sometimes we're working hand in hand with them, whether it's a warden and a deputy in the same boat. So we're always learning from each other, and like I said, it's passed down from basically from deputy to deputy. Whoever's taken over will give them the limelight.
That's an interesting part of it. I wouldn't have known that. That's an interesting part of it. That's kind of cool.
Tricks in the trades.
Yeah. So when it comes to pulling Shawn, is it tough to pull him skiing wise or something? No, I'm sure you guys don't do that. But
fishing.
He's only taking me fishing. That's it. Not skiing.
Feel free.
Go ahead. Talk about the fishing experience we've had together.
Yeah. Fishing, that's not a bad to get either. We're going to take a quick break, and we will be back with more with our Wood County Sheriff's Department right here on Morning Magazine, AM 1320 WFHR. Looking at your local temperatures, it is 76 in Stevens Point and Marshfield, 77 in Wausau, 79 here in Wisconsin Rapids. We have our Wood County Sheriff's Department with us. We have Sheriff Shawn Becker with us and Sergeant Souza with us. Is it Matt? It is Matt. Okay, I wanted to make sure. I for some reason I thought Mac at first. I'm like, you don't look like a Mac.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't look tough.
my sister my brother-in-law is a Mac, and I don't know, maybe that's where it came from. I'm sorry, Matt. Thank you for joining us today, and I want to remind everybody out there that the phone lines are open, 715-424-2600. We got a lot to get to,
sure,
but I wanted to touch on something really quick with you boys, and I wanted to get your kind of feedback on this, because with it's something that you and I, Sheriff, we talk about really since the first time we've been on the air together, and making sure that relationship between community and our police department and our sheriff's department and everything is solid. That we have a generation of kids that grow up and that feel comfortable talking to you guys and approaching you guys and highlighting some of the things that don't get talked about enough. And one of the things to come up recently in the news, and for me personally, there is an author who I've always liked, Michelle McNamara. And I'll admit she's an Illinois brat, so there's part of the reason why I like her. But she was one of these bloggers and one of these writers who was very into cold cases and studying them and everything. And she's one of the few people that I've seen to be able to give empathy as well as facts and balance that really well along with storytelling. And she has a book called I'll Be Gone in the Dark, and it's all about the Golden State Killer. And this gentleman who, in the mid-70s, he had 50-some rapes and 10 deaths to his, on his credit there, however you want to put it, and had gone on throughout basically since that time, except for that area of the country not really talked about.
Yeah.
And it was a case that hadn't been solved for a long time. Michelle and some other bloggers really helped make this happen, and in part her, to give her credit, but it wasn't until retired detectives joined the case that really made this happen. And here is a section of the community that we never seem to talk about, but we all know about, whether it's a TV show or movie we saw, whether it is like Murder, She Wrote or Perry Mason or any of these kind of shows, all these shows in history where we see the retired officer who has this case that he can't let go of.
Yeah.
It's not just a storyline for Hollywood. It's something that literally goes on in almost every community in this country, that we have retired officers who, off the clock, who continue to follow through on these cases and try to bring justice to these victims and these families and everything. And I didn't know if you guys know anybody like that. I don't know if that's something that hits home for you, but I thought that it was something that it should be talked about more. We don't get a chance to highlight it very often.
Yeah. No, that's a really good point to bring up. You don't when you have somebody that puts in most of their life into a career, a profession, that brother and sisterhood that law enforcement has, and then you put in 30 plus years, and then you walk away, you retire with a sense of accomplishment, but you don't really truly completely walk away. And especially if you were an investigator or you had time in your career to be an investigator. For me, not this about me, but having the opportunity to be an investigator for several years was very hard. It took me a while to adjust, but after I did several years in investigations, there are things that I've done that I'll never forget, even when I retire at some point, that I'll probably continue to talk about. So, and we do have cases that people consider them cold. I consider them open cases that are still worked on. They have a little bit more of, or they have more of attention because people have died, and they haven't been solved. And rest assured that we are still continuing to work on them. as a team, and part of that team are the folks that did work on them while they're here on their during their career, and two people just jump out at me right away, and that's Bob Lewandowski, who was one of my supervisors when I was an investigator. But as a supervisor of investigators, you're still doing the legwork, especially for a smaller agency like ours, and you're supervising people that are working on, these homicides or something similar, to that. And we still have communication with Bob. And then furthermore, Dave Laudy, also a lieutenant, and Dave and Bob are very close friends, and they still communicate together often, and I talk to them periodically. Both of them are a couple of my biggest mentors that I had in my career, because they both were supervisors of mine during my time here, and just awesome individuals, and they still care about these cases. We still talk to them about, hey, what do you remember? Mm-hmm. All right, we're looking at this. We're going through this, and what do you recall? And just to talk to them and hear their vested interest where they still care is huge, and they're still part of it. No matter what direction that we move forward with these open cases, they're still there, and they have a vested interest, and that really holds true for anybody that had a position like that, and then they retire. They put in their time, and now it's that next phase of their life. That doesn't mean you walk away from what you've done, throughout your career at a law enforcement agency. So, both great people. Great people. Dave retired tomorrow. It'll be, I think, 11 years. 10 or 11 years, and we'll recognize him on our Facebook page. Just the his career and what he's done, not just for me, but for Matt, for many people at our department. He had a leadership position when I started, and quite frankly, probably one of the best leaders that I had. You knew what the expectations were, and if you made a mistake, you knew you had it coming. And then you move on from it. That's one thing that I have to say with him. The expectations were clear, and you move forward. How we work together as a team, and that is so important at any law enforcement agency. There is a hierarchy of leadership, but we're all still one team, and that was really coming from Dave and Bob. Bob had a different personality. Not a negative personality, but just a fun guy to be around, and a fun guy to work for. He, as an investigator, as you supervise investigators, you can't micromanage them, because the work changes so much, and you're never done. That was the hardest part that I had as an investigator. Going home at 4 or 5 o'clock, I still had paperwork up to here that I need to follow up on, and I really had a hard time adjusting to that, and asked my wife. But when you have people like Bob and other mentors that have many years of experience in investigations, like another one I could throw out, Tad Wetterell from Wisconsin Rapids PD, as investigators are working. They're always working with other agencies, and that, again, teamwork. It goes beyond just your one single organization. It goes to, like for me, it was Wisconsin Rapids Police Department, because a lot of the investigations we were working on, they happen in both areas. Yeah. So, that mentorship with Tad Wetterell as well. He still remembers a lot of these cases that that Wisconsin Rapids Police Department has. They know them, like they can think of, like, hey, if I ask you a question, do you recall this? They'll know it. It's just something that you never lose.
Well, that's I think when you started, especially, you hit on something really key there. Is that retirement is a word. Mm-hmm. It's a word, and it's something that you do, but it's not something that really in your mind or your heart you really can do. One of the things that I think I've noticed, not just you and the people that you've brought in, but talking with Chief Melvin and our Rapids Police Department and some of the gentlemen over there and people over there, and April and just all these people that I've talked to. One of the common things that I see is empathy. is that so many of you guys have empathy, have a heart. And it's part of the reason I'm sure that you got into this line of work is because you care and you care about people. But that is not something that you clock out at 5 and, okay, my heart's off. I can go ahead and go back to my daily life. It's not something, it stays with you. And some of these cases that are a little harder than others or unsolved for that matter, I don't think any of us as citizens can really relate to what that must be like, because while we may see it on the news for a couple minutes, well, it's in our head for a second. Maybe we talk about it with our significant other, and then it's off, and we're on to another conversation. This stays with you. This is there when you close your eyes at night. It's there when you, and that is part of what that's you sign up for. I'm not asking people to necessarily feel bad for you guys,
right.
But I'm asking for people to understand what it is, put themselves in your shoes, what that has got to be like, and how great it is when something, because it doesn't happen very often, but this guy, this Golden State Killer, this past Monday, pled guilty to, I believe, like 13 different counts of murder and that kind of, he's going away. There's enough evidence and all this. One of the things that stood out to me about it was seeing these retired detectives there with the victims' families crying just as hard as they were. Yeah. So relieved. The relief on their face. It wasn't happy or sad tears. It was relief. Yeah. And that, okay, this is something, maybe I can close my eyes tonight. Maybe, something like that. It's something that we don't put a highlight on unless it's in a TV show or a movie often enough. And I feel like it's something that we all need to take into consideration these days.
I'm glad you brought it up because it gave, us an opportunity to, and there's many more. I could bring up a lot of our retirees that, and that's one thing that Captain Ellis, came up with just an outstanding idea on our Facebook page where, every Monday we recognize a current employee. And then we started talking about it a little bit more. What about the people that did give us the 25, 30, 35 years of their life to the Sheriff's Department? And we've got a lot of really good feedback where we've been, recognizing the folks that, hey, on this day, Dave Lowdy retired or Bob Lewandowski retired, and we'll try to find a picture of them and throw out there and give a bio of them. And it just shows the community that, and like you said, we're people too, and know who has been serving you in the present and the past. And so I think it was just an awesome idea that Quentin came up with, and we've expanded it. And we really like to take our social media page, just keeping it positive, because right now especially there's a lot of negativity out there towards law enforcement that's being focused towards law enforcement. I can say that we're very fortunate here in Wood County, in central Wisconsin, just to see the positive support through tough times right now. I know we talked about it before. We're kind of in a corner right now where we have to earn trust back. And we're very fortunate that we have the support that we do from our community. And like I said, our Facebook page is one that we can just keep positive, and address things as they come up. And you see us. You see us as individuals. We have families. We're people too, and we're part of the team that not just our law enforcement team, but the community team.
I have no doubt that a big part of the reason for that in this area is you. Is the leadership and what the example you set and the way that you are. I can ask you any question. Our callers can call up and ask you a question, and you don't balk at it. You don't push it off. You don't give us a vanilla answer. You're real, and you treat people that way. And that is a huge part of this, a big part of it that cannot be undersold of it. One of the other things, too, is that I can beat you in basketball. No,
well, you probably could.
I wanted to get to the call here, and I had no segue. So I was actually thinking of the idea, though, of some of the videos we've seen of officers playing basketball with kids and things like that. So that popped in my head. But
sure.
We are going to take.
You still could beat me.
We're going to take a call. I think you could block me out, actually, in the paint. We're going to take a call real quick here before we go to break. Good morning. You're on with the Wood County Sheriff's Department.
Well, I'd like to thank the policemen, and I'd like to thank the firemen. I'd like to thank the service people for all their service that they've done for us people. And I think that we've all made mistakes, but we're all American. I don't care if you're black, white, purple, or whatever. We're all Americans, and we're going to try to do better.
Oh, thank you.
And we've had good and bad in our family, and we've been in contact with police, with firemen, But I appreciate all of you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, hon. Thank you for that. You have a great day, miss. Appreciate that call. That was... boy, and she hit on something there that, I've talked with you off and on air, Sheriff, about is my family is one of those where we've been on both sides of this. And, we understand the importance because of being on both sides, I think, of what you guys do. And one of the things that I think another things that gets lost in the shuffle when it comes to this, especially when so much of the media focuses on the negative and the bad. There is bad out there in every job in every field in the world. You're going to find bad people. You're going to find bad radio announcers, bad doctors, this kind of thing. And who are the first ones that want them to be called out? Their fellow workers. If there's a disc jockey out there who is horrible and all these things, I don't want him making me look bad. I don't want him bringing me down with him. I'm trying to do a job here. It's hard enough as it is. Right. I don't need that. On a completely amazingly different level where it is with you guys, where I know that it is a family and that you guys have bonds and different things that a lot of us can't relate to. But that I imagine, gets thrown out the window when you take abuse of your position. When you you put a black eye on all of you guys. And it's not fair, but it's something that we all deal with in every job that we're in. But it's something where you guys are the ones that are going to call them out first more than anybody. Right. You want them to have the accountability.
No, I mean, first of all, thank you to the caller. Just to hear... And I know Matt has got it, and a lot of other law enforcement folks have got it. Just a thank you from the community is huge. Just recently, Mike Zerflu came by and recognized all of our employees just to say thank you. And Bruce King, a retired corrections officer, did the same thing. And and just to hear that from folks in that call, it really helps under some tough times right now. And we're going to get through it. I know that what's really unfortunate, especially right now, is the political side of things is really made it pretty tough for all of us as we move forward, because people are taking sides, and and I've had lots of calls with some of our political leaders as we move forward, and there's frustration there because I know that there's no perfect system. And as law enforcement, we can take a look at where we could change, where it's some training or something along those lines. We're not perfect, but I really stand by our law enforcement training in Wisconsin. I think we're probably leading the nation. Of course, I can say that because I've been a cop for a long time, and I know how we train. I know how we train our law enforcement agency at the Wood County Sheriff's Department, how we train with other local, partners here, within the area. But that doesn't mean it's perfect, right? And I think that there are some opportunities out there that we can change some of our training, but there's also some things that we can do better. And we used to have a Citizens Academy, several years ago, and I think those are, once we get through this virus stuff, I think that's something that, we need to do more of, where people can come in and take some time and see what we do. Whether it's a use of force question. That's probably one of the biggest things that people are talking about right now. I really don't want to continue to discuss what happened in Minnesota, but we will, because that's a terrible tragedy that made us all look bad, and nobody can agree with what the end result was, and it should have been prevented. But, we're going to move forward, and if there's some changes that we need to make, we will. And we're going to listen to people. And like I said, the frustrating part of it for me as a law enforcement officer is the political side of things that have come out, where people are taking, different sides and saying, well, why not just sit down and talk with some of our leaders in law enforcement, and, we'll listen. Yeah. That's a big part of this. We need to listen too and find out, okay, what kind of things do you want to change as we move forward with? You'll find, a lot of the information out there we've been already doing. The body cameras, the squad cameras, we've been doing that for years. A lot of our law enforcement agencies have been doing that for many different reasons. A lot of it is accountability. And so as we move forward, I know that we're going to have some opportunity to change, and what I really want to highlight on that call, and thank you, ma'am, for calling in and saying thank you to us. We're going to keep moving forward.
We are going to take a really quick break. We'll be back with more with the Sheriff's Department, Wood County Sheriff's Department here on Morning Magazine, AM 1320, WFHR. Thanks a lot, Emily. 79 in Stevens Point, 77 in Marshfield, 78 in Wausau, and 81 here in Wisconsin Rapids. Already hitting the 80s, guys. I look at the equipment you guys wear and everything.
Yeah.
As soon as I say that temperature, I'm like, oh, man.
Yeah, it's warm, buddy.
Yeah.
We need it.
Yeah. We are sitting here with the Wood County Sheriff's Department, and again, we want to thank Sheriff Shawn Becker and Sergeant Matt Souza for joining us today. Thanks so much for being here, guys.
Appreciate being here.
Appreciate you. We do want to mention also that usually Wisconsin Rapids Community Media was in with us. Kevin or Joe or somebody is in to record. They are recording the ribbon cutting right now, so they're off doing that. But they will have our audio from this interview, so that will be on their site and everything. So to keep that in mind, everyone that enjoys catching the show that way, and when we get to talk to you guys that way,
awesome.
The audio will still be there. Just won't have these handsome faces to look at here.
That'd be mad.
Yeah, I was focusing on you two. I wanted to touch on the COVID situation with you first.
One of the Wausau Police Department officers came down with it. And we had talked about this before, but that's going to, obviously with the cases going up in central Wisconsin, even in Wood County, we've been, something that we've been preparing for. And that really revolved around, two things with us. One, we have a jail, and we have inmates obviously in custody right now, and we have a duty and obligation to keep them safe, and then our employees. So we months ago, when we weren't getting many cases, we still sat down with, other law enforcement agencies within the county and kind of mapped out what kind of a schedule would we need to implement if we do get an employee, or when we get an employee that comes down with the virus. So this was now with all the cases going up, but this was a reminder that this stuff on the back burner with this schedule, that we might have to implement it sooner than later. Marshfield Police Department tried the schedule. It's basically you work a week on and then you have 14 off. It worked for them, and they have similar numbers. So, and then the Nakusa Police Department did something similar to that, and then they went back to normal because we weren't getting the cases. Well, now we are. So that's going to be a discussion that as we move forward, like, okay, when are we going to implement this? Because I think it's just a matter of time. I hate to say that, but with the cases going up, the virus is still here. So we've got to be, really aware of that and still, move forward with the social distancing, wearing masks. We're not requiring our officers our deputies to wear masks. They have masks. If they want to wear them on a particular call, they can. But the virus is still there, and with what happened with the Wausau Police Department was a reminder that we still have to be thinking as we move forward with how we're going to handle it when and if and when it happens to our department. But it's out there. Cases are going up. People are socializing more. We're just seeing it. We kind of figured it probably would happen. So that's something that, people need to be aware of, take it serious. The virus is still out there. It's going to be for several months, and we're going to continue to work through it. Another thing I want to mention, I know Doug Christensen, one of our deputies, has been on the show before. It was his birthday yesterday. I should say how old he is, but he's getting close to my age, so it's pretty old. But what a great person. He's one of our folks that goes above and beyond when it comes to the mental health side of things. One thing I really want to call out, he goes back and even with some of our inmates that are struggling, he'll go back and talk to them, spend some time with them. He goes above and beyond and has been just a positive fixture to our law enforcement agency, and we really appreciate him being part of our team. So happy birthday, Doug! You're catching up, and that's great. He's as gray as I am. He might have a little more hair than me, but that's debatable. But he's a great guy, and I want to thank Matt for coming. I know this was a last minute thing for him. He did have the option of not coming. And he was very open to the idea. I know he didn't get to talk as much as he'd like to, but I really appreciate Matt coming and talking about his career and a good friend of mine, a great friend of mine. We go back a long ways, and I appreciate the fact that he's still part of the team. And again, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here, Matt. We appreciate it. And as always, we appreciate you being with us, Shawn. Always a good time talking with you, and fun and interesting conversation every time. Always appreciate it. Want to wish you guys not only a great 4th, you and yours a great 4th, but also want to take an opportunity to thank you, thank everybody involved at the Wood County Sheriff's Department, people working the phones, to people out there walking the beat. We got your back. And we appreciate you, and we are here if you need anything. And just take care. Be safe out there, okay?
Thank you, James. We really appreciate the partnership that we have with you.
We'll talk again real soon, all right?
Sounds good.
You guys take care. Stay cool out there, too.
We'll try.
Here. Yeah. We want to thank our friends at the Wood County Sheriff's Department again for joining us. We'll talk with them again real soon. Be sure to join us tomorrow for more Morning Magazine on AM 1320 WFHR.